Philadelphia, get ready to be inspired. If you need help finding the light in the darkness, don't touch that dial. Let's navigate life through the lens of hope with Scotty P. Inspirational speaker Scotty P speaks the importance of mental health in society and encourages techniques to overcome the everyday mental health obstacles that hold us back in life. It's not just inspiration, it's Scotty P inspiration.
What's going on, everybody? This is Scott Prendergast here, coming at you with another episode of the Scotty P Inspiration Show. Thank you all for joining me today. I'm super excited, and I think you're really all going to be able to take some positives away from the episode today, like we usually do. So thanks, everyone, for being here. Season 3, Episode 3, let's go. I'm super excited. You know how I like to do things. I like to jump right into it so you can take some content and just apply it to your day right here, right now. A little snack size. We'll call them a Scotty snack for you to be able to take this and improve your day in some type of way, okay? So before we do that, very, very quickly, administrative stuff. How many of you like this show? If you do, that's great. Subscribe to my channel. Check it out. Any way that you can watch previous episodes is by going on any major podcast platform, Apple Music, Spotify, you name it, and you could search the Scotty P Inspiration Show. You can watch it that way. You can also go on my website. That's www.scottypinspo.com. You can watch it that way. Or you can go on my YouTube channel, which is Scotty P Inspiration. Check it out that way as well. Okay, everybody. Thanks again for being here today. Our topic today is something that I know that I've been dealing with a lot recently, and I'm sure a lot of you who listen to the show have been at some point in your life as well. So the topic that I have written down today is kind of as follows. Now, the quote, because you know I like to usually start with a quote. I don't know who said this quote. A lot of people have said it, but it goes as follows. There's more going on here than what meets the eye. Okay, and I'll say that again. There's more going on here than what meets the eye. Now, I found this quote super relevant to my life personally right now, which is why I really wanted to be able to do an episode about this today. So I want to ask you this as the listeners. Have you ever found yourself in a situation that just seemed completely hopeless? Now, have you ever found yourself in a situation where you just felt totally overmatched by life and it just seemed like there was no good way out of this situation? It just seemed like you were stuck, you were stagnant, you were hopeless, and you just didn't even see a point in that situation. You just felt completely defeated. Right? Have you ever been in a situation like that? Now, everyone's thinking, yeah, I have, because we all have. Absolutely. So my question to you really is this. How did you proceed? Now, when you found yourself in that stagnant place, that hopeless place, how did you proceed? What did you do? Okay, now I want you to really think about what you did and be honest with yourself. That's okay. Now, what did you tell yourself during that time too? Right, so were you telling yourself, oh my goodness, this is so hopeless, this is worthless, I can't ever see a way out of this, I guess I'm just done, I'm quitting, I'm going back to the starting line? What did you say to yourself? What did you tell yourself? How did you proceed? I want you to think about that. Okay, so the reason that I started with this question is because a lot of times when we hear the quote, there's more going on that meets the eye, it kind of pertains to this. And I thought of this because when we find ourselves in those really difficult situations, those just gut-wrenching situations, those hopeless situations, those times where we look and do the math a million different ways, and none of it seems to work because we just find ourselves in such a desperate place that we just feel it's pointless and we can't get out of it, right? But I think a lot of times when we're in these situations, we need to change a little bit what we're saying to ourselves. And we need to just try our best to be able to flip the situation and look at it differently. And that's where this quote comes in, and there's more going on that meets the eye. Because if we tell ourselves that and we look at that situation and just say, man, this is all that there is right here, we're obviously going to be discouraged. We're obviously going to go in the wrong direction. We're obviously going to get stuck, right? But if we tell ourselves, okay, this situation, I'm acknowledging it that it's not great. I'm acknowledging it that I hate this. I'm acknowledging that this is not what I want. But if you tell yourself there's more going on here, there's more going on that meets the eye, there's something brewing from this, there's something that's going to come from this, all of a sudden it seems just a tad bit less hopeless. And all of a sudden you have a little bit of drive inside you again. You have a little bit of that hope that you need inside you to keep moving one step forward to get through that hopeless and difficult situation, right? Now, I understand that this isn't always easy, right? Because it's so tempting for us when we find ourselves just in a difficult life season to be like, well, I'm just going to pack it in here. And, I tried something new and it didn't really work. So I'm just going to turn around well, this is just how it is. So I guess I just have to accept that my life is at this point right now. It's easy to do that. It's easy, right? It's a lot harder to look at a situation in which you see nothing going right and try to prove to yourself that there's more going on here that meets the eye. It could seem a bit radical at times too. It could seem a bit delusional. For anyone who's ever been in a really low place and when you see literally nothing going right and you try to tell yourself there's more going on that meets the eye, it can feel funny because you're like, this goes against everything I see. But then that takes us back to the definition of what faith is. Believing in things that are unseen, right? So I think for anybody, whatever the situation is that you're doing, you got to have faith in yourself. And you got to have faith that you'll be able to move through this. And you got to have faith that God didn't put you in that situation just to leave you there. Right? But it's hard for us as humans to kind of gather that. It's hard for us, the way that we're wired, to look at that situation and say, yes, okay, I know 20 years from now, I'll look back and this will all be just like, oh yeah, that was great and got me to where I'm at. Hindsight's always 20/20, but when you're in the middle of it, it's like -15, 1,000, right? But on this show today, I really want to help you. I want to help anybody who's listening to be able to look at a situation that's not ideal and truly believe that there's more going on here than what meets the eye. Right? So I want to open up your mind to the idea that your struggle season is really just the tip of an iceberg of a much bigger picture. Now we'll go do a little, school education here. If we know about icebergs, we know that the tip of it is really just the smallest part. And there's way more underneath the surface, right? Yeah, I think we all know that, and something that we learned in school. So I think in the same way, our life kind of reflects that. I really think it does. I think what we see going on in our life in the present day, right here, right now, is just one tiny, tiny tip of a much larger iceberg. But the problem is, just like with an iceberg, when you're above water, all you see is that tip. So in the same way, in our life, when you're really struggling and just going through something, it seems like nothing's working. All you see is that tip, that problem, that issue, that struggle, right? You don't see what else is going on there. So the thing that I'm trying to task myself with to help others with, and what I've learned a lot, is, okay, so how do I change my lens from just looking at the tip of that iceberg, just looking at the problem, to instead realizing that there's a whole bigger iceberg underneath there. There's so much more going on here, and this is essential. How do I do that on a consistent basis too? Because for a lot of us, it's easy to have maybe one day of inspiration every once in a while where you're like, okay, yeah, I can do that. I understand there's more going on here. I'm okay. And then 2 or 3 days go by and nothing's changed still. And you find yourself falling back into that familiar trap of, oh man, I can't see past this right now. Right. So one of the things that I've been trying to work on with people that I work with is, how do we make this a consistent mindset shift? How do we consistently look at it instead of just saying, well, nothing's changed in 2 weeks? How do I still keep that hope alive? How do I still keep that mindset of there's more going on here, there's growth here, and keep moving forward? Right. And it's, again, I want to acknowledge this and make sure everybody understands this. This is not always easy. This is one of the most challenging things in this life, right? And if you've ever met somebody who is just miserable and given up on life, it's probably because their iceberg, their problem, their season, they couldn't see past it. And since they couldn't see past it, when it was time to get out of it, when it was time to move past it, they declined because they were just so obsessed over what wasn't right or what was wrong in that one moment. Right? And we don't want to be that way. We want to thrive, and we want to take every situation and add it. Each brick has a story to tell and build it together to make something greater. And that's what we're doing today. Okay. So like I said, open your mind to the idea that this struggle season is just the tip of the iceberg of a much bigger picture in your life. Much bigger. And that brings me kind of to my next point. Now, I know I've said this quote before. I use it a lot when I speak. I really like it. Okay. I'm sure we've all heard the quote, excuse me, I don't want to give away the punchline already. We've heard the quote, life's all about peaks and valleys, right? And if you've listened to my show, I've said this before, but it's worth repeating. Peaks and valleys, okay? Peaks are the good times in life, and valleys are the not so good times in life. So let's talk about the valleys. Now, when we're in a valley, our natural instinct is to look off into the distance and say, oh, I want to be at that mountain peak. How come I'm not there? I want to get there. Right? And so we try to struggle through this valley with our eyes totally gazed on that peak the whole time. And we're running through this deep, dark valley. And we're like, I see the peak in the distance. But it's like one of those dreams where you try to run, but you can't. And you're just stuck, stagnant, and it's torturous. It's like a carrot and a stick in front of you because you just see this mountain, but you can't go anywhere. You're totally stuck and you feel like you're moving, but then when you look down, you're actually not. Right? That's what it's like to be in a valley in life, to be in a difficult time in your life. And then what can happen from there is that we get discouraged and we end up just completely stop trying, looking off into the distance and saying, oh, I guess I'll never get to that peak anyways. And we spend the rest of our life just sitting in that valley. But here's where things get Scotty P inspo-ized, so to speak. When we're in a valley, I encourage you to change something up. Instead of spending all your time running, trying your best to get to that peak, saying, oh my goodness, I'm not there yet, what's going on? And exhausting yourself to the point where you don't even want to do that anymore, let's take a different approach. And instead, when we find ourselves in that difficult time, that difficult valley, let's take our eyes off from the peak for a second. And instead, let's look around us in this moment. Let's look in this valley right now to see what's here, what we can use to help us move forward. Let's see what God gave us in this valley right now to use for our life in this situation. All right? Let's look at the valley now. And so when you take your eyes off that peak and say, okay, all right, fine, let me look in this valley. At first, you don't see much. You're like, it's dark in here and I don't like it. But as you get in the dirt of that valley and you dig a little bit, you look around a little bit more and put a little bit more effort into it, you'll start to discover these little hidden gems. And these little hidden gems that you find in this valley represent a multitude of different things. These hidden gems represent newfound resilience. These hidden gems represent new relationships, new passions, new outlooks on life, new strength, new abilities, whatever it might be. So all of a sudden, you start collecting all these little shiny hidden gems that were in this valley that you didn't notice before. Why? Because you spent all your time looking off in the distance in the peak. But now that you've got these hidden gems, now when you start running, you actually can make progress because these little hidden gems give you the strength that you need to keep moving through the valley so that you can take another route to get to that peak, a route that you didn't know existed, but a route nevertheless that is there because you're using what's around you, what you found in this valley to move you forward. All right. And I think that is such a powerful analogy. And that's why I love sharing that. And it's something that I came up with. And I'm very proud of it, I must say. But I use that all the time because every one of us can identify with that, of being in that valley, staring off into the peak. But let's switch it up today. And let's find those little hidden gems in the valley right now and allow that and those gems to give us the strength to move forward in the right time. So something for you, the listener, to take from this today. Hidden gems in the valley. Remind yourself of that. And when you're in that valley, if you are right now, take a moment to see what's around you in this moment that you can use to help you. That you couldn't use any other way unless you truly dug in to see what was there. And you might be surprised at the amazing things that you find. Okay, so hidden gems in the valley. All right, my friends, as we're moving forward a little bit here, you know, one of the things that I wrote down too, because you know I love analogies, is kind of like this. I feel like this problem in your life right now, this struggle in your life right now, let's take it in a pizza metaphor, because I like pizza. I don't know who doesn't. Actually, not everybody does, and that's okay. But I really like pizza, so I'm going to talk about it, okay? If we look at this problem right now, like it's one piece of a pizza, okay? Imagine it. It's one of 8 pieces. One piece. Right? It's not the whole pie. It is one piece. But without this one piece, guess what? That pizza pie will never be whole. Right? It'll forever have something missing. So as difficult as this one piece is right now, this piece is essential to making the whole pie. You can't skip this piece. You can't say, I don't want this piece. You can't say, throw this piece out. It's not good. No. You need this piece in order to make that pie whole. Right? Yeah. And I think that's just another way to help us realize that these struggles and difficulties in our lives, as much as we don't like it, we despise it, we hate it, they're necessary for the big picture and for the whole pie, so to speak. And we need them. And we can't wish them away. And so for you right now, I don't know what your struggle is in this life for you. I don't know what you're going through. I don't know what the problem is. I don't know what's not working for you or going your way. But I do know this. It is one slice, so to speak, of the pizza pie that is your life. Bit of a cheesy analogy, but we're going to rock with it because I think everybody can picture that. This is one slice. Okay? And you'll get another slice, and you'll get another, and you'll get another. And that pie will become a whole, but only if you accept each slice for what it is right now and let it do its work. Let it have its uniqueness in your life. Because it's there to build you into something. Right? And you need that slice. You need that experience. You need that struggle for what it is right now before you can get to that next thing. And if you didn't have that slice, that struggle, you wouldn't be able to enjoy the next one. Now, I know, again, hearing that when you're really in a low place doesn't necessarily make you feel better, but I'm challenging you to work on changing your perspective. I'm challenging you to, even though you see no reason to be happy, even though you see no reason why things will get better, even though you see no reason why you should even get out of bed, I am challenging you. I am challenging you today to get yourself up, to look at it differently. And it may not change things today or tomorrow or the next day, but if you keep challenging yourself to look at it differently, to say this is one piece of the pie, to say I'm gathering the hidden gems in the valley, it's going to make a difference. And then next thing you know, you'll be out of that valley. Right? But in the meantime, let's change how we're looking at it right now. Let's change how we look at the slice. Let's change how we look at the valley. And let's realize that it's there and it's helping us. But sometimes help can be painful. I think we all know that. Right? So I have a little activity for you. You know, I love my little activities, little things that you could do if you're in the office right now on your lunch break, or if you're in school listening to some professor drone on about something you don't care about. And you're like, yo, I'm going to put Scotty P in my headphones because he's better, or whatever it might be. Wherever you're at, you're in the car, whatever it is. Okay. Here's a little strategy for you. All right. I want you to look at your situation, think about what it is. I want you to think about your life. Okay. We're going to get existential here. We're going to think about your life. And I want you to ask yourself, in my season of my life right now, what's my goal? What is my goal? Okay, now think about that. Your goal could be, I just want to get out of this dark time in my life. Your goal could be, I want to pursue a new career. Your goal could be, I want to do this or that. I want to get a house. I want to start a family. Whatever it is, ask yourself, what is my goal? Okay, for where you're at right now. You ask yourself that. Now that you have your question, next question that you have to ask yourself is, how do I find the purpose? How do I find the purpose? Okay, because as we all know, what's the point of having a goal if there's no purpose behind it? Right? There's got to be some purpose there too. All right, so your first question, what's my goal? Get that answer. Boom. Second question, find the purpose. How do I find the purpose? That's for you to figure out. I'm not going to tell you what to do. That's on you. Okay? Find that purpose though, because if there's not a purpose with the goal, then my advice to you would be, maybe it's time to change that goal, because you need that purpose to help you drive forward. Okay. So find the goal, find the purpose. And then your third question, because we do things in threes out here, and your final question, what's my action? What's my action? Because as we know, if we just make these goals and find these purpose and have these dreams, it means nothing if we're not going to take some sort of action on it. Right? So that is the third and most critical part of this little assignment for you here. So in review, you're going to look at your situation right now and say, okay, what is my goal? Whether it's a life goal, a situational goal, whatever it is. What is my goal? How do I find the purpose? That's your second part. And number three, what is the action that I am going to take? Okay. You do these three things. It helps give you a little bit of clarity on where you're at, where you're going, what you want to do. And that's why all my little strategies, they're similar, but they all help you become a little bit more self-aware, and they all help you to spark a new idea or maybe a new perspective on an old situation. And that new idea or perspective on that old situation could be exactly what it is that you need to get through that rut, to change that perspective, to look at it differently so that you can be who you want to be and get going where you want to go. All right. So I hope that exercise is something that you do today when you get the chance, and it can make a difference for you. All right. And do it every day if you have to, whatever works for you. So as we're wrapping this up today, I've kind of want to do one last quick little analogy, and I want it to be of a seed. Okay, so let's think about it. Let's go through the life of a seed. Let's say it falls off of a tree and a little sapling, and it falls onto the ground. Right? And so this little tree seed, it's on the ground, it's scared, it doesn't know what's going on. All of a sudden, it starts getting buried into the dirt. And it's a dark place, and it's really scared, and it doesn't know what's happening. And all of a sudden, after a little bit, it's in this dark place as if it couldn't get worse. Now it starts getting worse because now the seed starts cracking. It's breaking apart from every angle. Everything that the seed thought it knew is coming apart. This seed's life is totally changing. Its form is completely changing. It is scared. It doesn't know what's going to happen. All it knows is that it's dark and it's cracking. So as the seed is cracking in the dark, all of a sudden now it starts to, get even worse, because now these little things start coming out of the seed. And it starts growing these little roots, and they start sprouting all over the place, and the seed's never seen this before, and the seed is just in awe and kind of wonder, but also in pain, and it's still dark, and it's still changing, and it's really frustrating and annoying because the seed doesn't know what it's going to be yet. But the seed keeps moving on. So it's dark, the seed is cracked, it's now growing these roots, but all of a sudden, after the cracking and roots have started to grow, the seed starts to sprout up above ground. The seed starts to see that coveted daylight again. And when it sees this daylight, it doesn't look anything like it looked like before. It wasn't just some little seed. Now it's growing into a tree. It's a small one, but it's growing. And the seed starts to realize that this is what it's supposed to have been all of along. And the seed starts to get confident and grow bigger and bigger and bigger, and eventually turns into a full-grown tree over time. But if the tree could talk, it would go back and tell the seed that was scared to death in the dark when it was cracking and changing form to hold on, because something so much greater was on the other side of that. But that seed would never have turned into the tree if it wasn't for that dark time, that cracking time, and that changing time. So in the same way, my friends and my fellow listeners, for you, maybe you find yourself in that dark time, that cracking time, just like the seed. But if there's anything that we can look to nature, it's a reflection of us. So look at all those trees outside and remind yourself that those huge, amazing, beautiful trees were once seeds that were uncomfortable cracking in the dirt. And they kept with the process, and look how it turned out for them. So in the same way, it's going to turn out amazing for you too, but you got to keep moving even in that dark time, and knowing that you will get through it and that you will become something great. So everybody, thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Scotty P Inspiration Show. I hope this could inspire you. I hope it could help you in some type of way. Tune in again next week for more content. Thank you all again. Follow me on social medias. Check out my website, scottypinspo.com. I love you all. Have a good one. I'll see y'all later. Everyone have a great rest of your weekend. This is Scotty P. Until next time, signing off.